Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to unpack a truly fascinating contradiction sitting right at the heart of our modern medical economy. According to a highly anticipated report from the Economic Times, looking ahead to the first quarter of fiscal year 2027, the healthcare industry is gearing up for absolutely massive, unprecedented growth. But, well, there's a huge catch, one that literally has investors and analysts scratching their heads. The profit margins? They're just not matching the hype. It's a classic profit paradox, and over the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly why it's happening, what it all means, and why this is absolutely crucial for the future of medicine. Here's our quick roadmap. First, the Q1FY27 growth forecast. Second, why hospitals are leading the charge. Third, the profitability paradox. Fourth, what is squeezing margins. And fifth, the future of healthcare. Before we really dive into the data, I want to frame our discussion around one central question. If hospitals are absolutely booming, why aren't they making money? I mean, it defies basic economic logic, right? Usually, when consumer demand skyrockets and facilities are packed, the bottom line swells right along with it. But in this upcoming quarter, that traditional equation is just totally broken. So keep that question to the back of your mind as we go. Section 1, the Q1 FY27 growth forecast. To understand the paradox, we first need to set the macroeconomic stage. We aren't just looking at standard everyday growth for Q1 FY27. While general market benchmarks are showing steady, predictable movement, the healthcare sector overall is projecting a towering, unprecedented spike. Think about it. Patients are seeking more care. Elective surgeries that got deferred are coming back in full force. Our population is aging, and demand is simply vastly outpacing the broader market. Honestly, it looks like an absolute gold rush.
Section 2, hospitals leading the charge.
But we have to ask, who exactly within this massive sector is capturing all that growth? Healthcare obviously has a ton of moving parts, but hospitals are the primary engine driving this boom. When you compare them to pharmaceuticals, diagnostics, or medical devices, hospitals completely dominate the growth share. They're the physical locations seeing this massive influx of patients, performing the complex procedures, and generating the lion's share of top-line revenue. They are without a doubt the star players of Q1 FY27. To really make sense of the financial data we're unpacking today, I want you to think about this hospital boom through a pretty relatable analogy. Imagine a wildly popular restaurant right in the center of town. Every single night, every table is packed, there's a 2-hour wait out the door, and the waitstaff is hustling nonstop. To anyone walking by, it looks like the owner is going to retire a multimillionaire. But behind the scenes in the kitchen, the cost of top-tier ingredients has quadrupled. The landlord just doubled the rent, and they're paying premium overtime wages just to keep enough chefs on the line to handle the rush. So despite the packed tables and the massive amounts of cash hitting the register, they are barely scraping by enough profit to keep the lights on. That dynamic is exactly what's happening to our hospitals. Section 3, the profitability paradox. And this brings us right to the central twist of our explainer. The narrative suddenly shifts from unbridled top-line optimism to a very harsh bottom-line reality. It's a total financial tug-of-war. On one end, you have all the incredible growth drivers you want to see. Record-breaking patient volume, massive infrastructure expansion with shiny new state-of-the-art wings, and surging top-line revenue. But on the other end, we're seeing relentless margin compression and persistent profitability concerns. Money is coming in the front door faster than ever, but it's leaking out the back door just as quickly. The actual slice of profit that a hospital gets to keep at the end of the day is just being squeezed tighter and tighter. Section 4. What is squeezing margins? So what exactly is dragging down the hospital's bottom line so heavily? Well, we can methodically break this down into 4 key operational hurdles. First up, rising operational costs. Simply put, everything required to run a hospital safely is way more expensive today. Highly trained medical professionals, nurses, specialists, they're all in incredible demand, meaning salaries and retention bonuses are climbing fast. Second, and this is huge, regulatory caps on pricing. Hospitals can't always just raise their prices to match their rising costs. They're often strictly limited by government regulations or really tight insurance agreements that create a firm ceiling on what they can charge. The floor of their cost is rising, but the ceiling of their revenue is totally locked in place. Third is persistent inflation. The cost of basic medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, and daily facility maintenance has skyrocketed. And fourth, heavy capital expenditures. Remember that massive growth we talked about? Well, accommodating more patients means building more facilities and buying cutting-edge, incredibly expensive medical equipment, like MRI machines and robotic surgery tools. That takes a massive immediate bite out of any available profits. The really crucial point here is how all these elements are converging right now in Q1FY27. We aren't just looking at a vague historical trend. This specific upcoming quarter is the crucible. As top-line growth hits its projected peak, these four margin squeezers are hitting simultaneously and aggressively. This convergence makes hospital profitability the absolute most critical hurdle for analysts, investors, and administrators to watch during this exact time frame. This whole dynamic is perfectly summarized by a direct quote from the Economic Times report itself. The headline insight states, "Hospitals to lead healthcare sector growth in Q1 FY27, profitability remains a concern." That single sentence is the paradox in a nutshell, right? It really adds immense authoritative weight to everything we've just unraveled. Yes, they are undoubtedly leading the growth, but no, they are definitely not keeping the cash. Section 5. The future of healthcare. Now that we deeply understand the problem, where do we actually go from here? To survive and hopefully thrive in this high-growth, low-margin reality, administrators have to follow a specific long-term strategy. Step 1 is simply acknowledging the ongoing margin pressures. Relying on pure revenue growth is no longer a viable game plan. They have to accept that margins are thin and will likely stay thin. Step 2 is optimizing operational costs fiercely. Now, this doesn't mean cutting corners on patient care. Actually, it means leveraging AI for administrative tasks, streamlining supply chains, and using resources smarter to eliminate waste. And finally, step 3, they must carefully balance rapid expansion with bottom-line efficiency. It's fantastic to build a massive new hospital wing, but really only if you have the operational efficiency to staff it and run it in a way that actually turns a profit. Which brings us to our final, somewhat provocative thought for today. Is the current high-growth, low-margin hospital business model actually sustainable long-term? I mean, can an industry truly survive, let alone innovate, if it continues to treat more and more patients while making less and less money on each one? Something eventually has to give. Whether that means a complete revolution in healthcare efficiency, a massive change in pricing regulations, or a fundamental shift in how we fund our medical infrastructure. It's a complex challenge, but it's one that will undoubtedly define the next decade of medicine. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this structured look at the data leaves you with a much clearer understanding of the forces shaping our healthcare system, and I hope it leaves you curious to learn even more.